Last year, Cash App quietly processed around $283 billion in inflows from roughly 57 million monthly active users, numbers that make it look less like a side app on your phone and more like a mid-sized national bank running in the background of American life. Most people see the green icon, send money to a friend, maybe buy a bit of Bitcoin, and move on. But behind that simple interface is one of the most powerful business models in modern finance, a model built on payment rails, tiny fees, and recurring revenue that almost nobody outside the industry ever looks at. And here's the twist. You don't have to build the next Cash App to tap into that engine. The same system that lets Cash App earn on every swipe, every payout, and every transaction your clients make is the same system that referral partners and strategic platforms can quietly plug into for passive income. So in this video, we're going to unpack how Cash App became America's unofficial bank, how it actually makes its money, and what that reveals about a hidden profit model sitting right underneath almost every business that takes a payment. To really understand where the opportunity is, you've got to understand how the whole thing started. Because Cash App didn't begin as some grand plan to reinvent banking. It began as basically a shortcut. Back in 2013, Block, known as Square at the time, launched something called Square Cash. And it wasn't a banking app or a financial ecosystem or anything close. It was literally a tiny feature that let you send someone money using your debit card through an email or a simple app, that's it. And that simplicity is what made it stick. A couple of years in, the team kept polishing the experience. They built a clean mobile interface. They added hashtag usernames so you didn't need an email. They opened the door for small businesses to accept payments. And while PayPal felt like online banking and Venmo felt like a social feed, Cash App felt like texting money, fast, casual, and made for phones, not for bankers. Then things got interesting. Slowly, Cash App started adding features that looked a lot like banking. You get a Visa cash card tied directly to your balance. Direct deposit shows up. Suddenly, your paycheck can land right inside the app. Then come tools for stock investing, Bitcoin trading, savings, even tax filing, and small loans. By the mid-2020s, for millions of Gen Z and millennial users, Cash App wasn't just the app I used to split dinner. It became, this is where I get paid. This is where I spend. This is where I save. This is where I try to grow my money. Basically, it's a miniature financial operating system living on the home screen. But here's the part most people don't realize. Legally, Cash App still isn't a bank. It doesn't have a charter. It doesn't hold deposits on its own balance sheet. Instead, it partners with FDIC-insured institutions like Sutton Bank and Lincoln Savings Bank to store funds and issue cards. Cash App keeps the front end, the part you tap and swipe and interact with. The regulated institutions handle the plumbing underneath. So to regulators, Cash App is fintech and a money transmitter. But to the everyday user, it feels exactly like their bank, just easier, faster, and way more familiar than a marble floor financial institution. So how does an app that technically isn't a bank end up looking and behaving exactly like one? And even more interesting, where is the money actually being made? To see it clearly, you have to imagine Cash App as having two layers sitting on top of one another. The first layer is the one everyone recognizes. It's the part you use without even thinking about it. Sending money to a friend, tapping your cash card at a store, grabbing a boost discount, checking your Bitcoin balance, watching your direct deposit hit, or filing your taxes inside the app. All of that lives on the surface. It's the lifestyle layer. It's what makes Cash App feel smooth, modern, and effortless. But underneath that familiar surface is a second layer most people never pay attention to. This is where the real business sits. This is where every swipe, every transfer, every payout, and every investment rides on the financial rails that Cash App plugs into. And once you look there, the whole picture snaps into place. Take something as simple as using the cash card. When someone pays at a store with it, the merchant pays a small fee on that transaction. That fee gets split up behind the scenes. Part goes to the card network, part to the issuing bank, and a slice goes straight to Cash App. And when you multiply that tiny slice across millions and millions of daily swipes, you end up with real money. Billions a year coming from nothing more than everyday spending. Then there's the demand for speed. Waiting 1 or 2 days for a transfer to clear is free. Getting it instantly costs around 1.75%. Most people don't even blink at that fee. They want their money now. And every time someone chooses speed over patience, Cash App makes another high margin profit. And of course, the biggest revenue engine of all, Bitcoin. Cash App charges fees on crypto purchases and also earns a spread, the difference between the price it pays for Bitcoin and the price it sells it to you for. Stock trades work the same way on a smaller scale. In some years, more than half of Cash App's revenue has come from Bitcoin alone, not from speculation, from simply acting as the middle layer in the transaction. There's also the business side most users never see. When a merchant accepts a payment through Cash App Pay or any related tools, they pay processing fees very similar to what they would pay with Visa or MasterCard, often around 2.75% per transaction. Cash App doesn't need branches, tellers, or a network of bankers to profit from commerce. It just needs to sit quietly in the middle of the payment flow and take a tiny slice each time money moves. And when you put all of this together, a pattern becomes obvious. Cash App doesn't actually make money by charging you to have the account. It makes money on the fringes. The moments when money moves faster, gets invested, changes hands, or gets processed by a merchant. To the user, it feels like the whole experience is free, but under the hood, it behaves exactly like a modern payments engine. Of course, building a financial machine on top of software instead of a traditional banking structure comes with consequences. That rapid app-first growth brought real regulatory attention. Between 2024 and 2025, Block, Cash App's parent company, faced more than $250 million in settlements after regulators found issues with fraud oversight, compliance processes, and anti-money laundering controls. When your bank is really a tech layer plugged into old banking rails, those cracks become very visible very quickly. So Cash App isn't a magical free bank. It's a software layer plugged into an extremely profitable payment infrastructure, an infrastructure that now carries a huge portion of Americans' daily financial activity. And once you see how it actually works, you can't unsee the bigger question it raises. If Cash App can build a multi-billion-dollar empire by positioning itself on top of the payment rails, what does that tell you about the rails themselves? And more importantly, who else can take a piece of them? Here's the part most people never notice. Cash App isn't valuable because the app looks nice. It's valuable because of where it sits in the flow of money. It positions itself right in the middle between employers and workers, shoppers and merchants, investors and markets. And every time money moves through that middle lane, someone gets paid for standing there. The surprising part is that this isn't a privilege reserved for billion-dollar fintech companies. The same economics apply anywhere money moves. Any business that accepts cards, any platform that handles transactions, any professional who guides merchants on financial decisions, they all sit close to those same rails. Take referral partners. If you're a CPA, accountant, or consultant, you're already the first call when a client's Stripe account gets frozen, their PayPal funds get held, or a processor suddenly labels their business high risk. Normally, you might weigh in with sympathy and a bit of damage control. But here's the shift. You can do more than point them away from the problem. You can point them toward the specific processors built for their business model and earn a small percentage of their monthly processing volume for making that introduction. And the steps are straightforward. You identify a client who's struggling with payments. Maybe they're in travel, CBD, online coaching, supplements, subscriptions, or any industry Cash App doesn't love. Instead of telling them to try another big processor, you send them through a partner link or connect them directly to a high-risk friendly processor or ISO you're aligned with. They get stable processing. You get a residual every month based on their transaction volume. And once it's set up, it's hands-off. You're not the one onboarding them, supporting them, or underwriting them. You simply open the right door. For strategic partners, software companies, booking platforms, CRMs, chargeback tools, niche systems, the opportunity is clearer. Your platform is where the transaction starts. When you integrate a specialist processor, three things happen immediately. First, your users stop getting blindsided by freezes and shutdowns because you're giving them access to processors that actually understand their industry. Second, you create a two-way referral relationship. You send merchants to the processor, and the processor sends merchants back to you. And third, you tie a portion of your revenue to payment volume flowing through your platform, which means the more your users grow, the more stable your own revenue becomes. None of this, requires you to become a processor, manage risk, or touch compliance. You're not running the rails, and you're simply choosing which rails your clients and users ride on, and you get compensated for routing them correctly. That tiny position in the middle of the money flow is where the recurring income comes from. Cash App proved how powerful that position can be when done at scale. But you don't need millions of users to benefit from the same underlying model. You just need to be close enough to a business's payment flow, and most professionals already are without realizing it. The question becomes whether you stay on the sidelines, watching all that transaction volume pass through someone else's system, or whether you decide to sit a little closer to the movement of money and take your share of the value being created. If you want to map out how this could work for you, whether you're a CPA, a consultant, or you run a software platform, that's exactly what this channel is here for. We break down the payments world from the partner's perspective, not the bank's. And if you want a clearer next step based on your situation, just comment "Guide me," and I'll send you the simple step-by-step version so you can see exactly where you fit in. So if you're serious about building a new income stream around payments without becoming a processor and without prior experience, subscribe, follow the next videos in this series, and start closing the gap between where you are and where the money actually moves.